All right, so I think the next one to hit up is probably going to be enabling teams.
Oh yeah.
Cough, cough, fire succubus.
Fire succubus does not need a nerf. Shut up, Max. I don't want to hear it. What's going on, everybody? This is Childish. We're back at it again with a brand new video for Might and Magic Elemental Guardians. Today we got another collab in the mix. We're going to be talking about the top 4 types of arena offenses that are out there. And to help me out with that today is going to be none other than my man Max. What is going on, man? How you doing?
I am doing quite well. How is everybody?
How is everybody? I think everybody's good. You're going to have to leave a message in the comment section down below to let them know how they're all doing, right? Because no one's going to be able to. You think you're streaming right now? We're not streaming, Max.
I know.
Okay? It's this YouTube world. This is the YouTube world, okay? But and either way, guys, super excited to have him on board again. You guys just saw our recent video, which we talked about the upcoming sneak peek that the creative director of MMEG provided in Discord. But we had a planned video for you guys, and again, we're going to be talking about those 4 top arena offenses that is currently out there in the meta today. Okay, now some of the things that we're going to be discussing on that, and we're going to be talking about the strengths and weaknesses of those teams, give you guys some options for some units, and then at the end of this video we're going to be showcasing some arena gameplay by my man Max, and he's going to talk about his thought process when he selects his team and how he goes about using some of the information we've provided for you guys today. So without further ado, let's get right into it here. Actually, you know what? Before we jump into that, why don't we take the time? Because I was thinking about the last video that we did, and of course with Vulcan as well. One of the things that we haven't taken the time to do is to give you the spotlight, and so I'm gonna give you the floor, my man Max. Why don't you tell everybody, since you have not had a chance to introduce yourself to the community? Why don't you do it on my channel right now? Let people know who you are, what you're about.
Ah, okay. Well, my name is Max, and my thought process in streaming is that I wanted to create a really chill place. So if you've ever been to my stream, there's always chill music going. Got old tunes, got, instrumentals and stuff. And I just like to think, like to break problems down and figure it out as best I can.
Gotcha.
That's all I'm really about.
Gotcha. And so how about this? How did you say, you know what, the game just came out, I'm about to jump into it. Like what was the motivation for you to not only get into this game but become an influencer for the MMEG community?
I really enjoyed the game, and I was like, it's at the ground floor, so it's a great time to get into it. I've been thinking about streaming since before I finished college, and then it just happened that I started playing this right as I finished grad school, so I was like, well, it's no time like the present.
No time like the present, indeed. Good deal. So yeah, again, guys, we've talked about it countless times. I know Vulcan has said a few things on his channel as well. He defines that aspect of theorycraft, and if you are all about learning the ins and outs of these units from 2-star to 4-star, even 1-star if he really wants to get down with it. But if you want to learn anything about these units, learn some insight in the game, you definitely want to go ahead and check him out. I will go ahead and leave his Twitch link in the description down below. But either way, let's go ahead and jump into this topic here. We got 4 arena offenses here, and we're going to be breaking them down from some of the most common ones to some of the hardest ones to build. Which one do you want to start out with, Max?
I think I'll start with the one that everyone knows, which is the Cleave team.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so break it down for people that don't even understand the terminology, Cleave. Let's hit it up.
Okay, so a Cleave team is a team in which you are relying on an AoE attacker with buffs for your team and debuffs for the enemy team to wipe the enemy team basically in one hit. And that is the most common type of team you'll run across, or that people will run in arena. They'll try to ATB boost, buff, and then cleave. Usually, that's just the pretty cut and dry version of a cleave team.
Cut and dry version. Gotcha. And so, given the fact of how successful this type of team could be, what are some of the big, like what do you consider just the big strength about it? What do you consider like the overall weakness? Like what's the big trouble about it?
So the strength of it is that most people, when they're doing arena, don't want to sit there and chip away at the enemy team. They want to just come in, blow through the team, go to their next fight, You know, people a lot of times are doing arena like on breaks or you know, in spare time, and so they don't want to spend a whole lot of time fighting.
Yep.
Also, it just feels good to just one shot stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I was gonna say, when I think about the cleave comps in general, like if you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of time and you, like you said, you just want to knock it out quick, you know, you can get those wings done and get on with the rest of your stuff. Especially like if you have to sneak it in at work. I'm sure some of us have done that in the past. And another thing to kind of throw out there is the fact of rush hour. If you want to get competitive, you're going to have to not only be able to create compositions that you can, you know, take your opponent down, but you want to take them down quick because you want to be able to keep up with the amount of wings that people are spending at your level of competition. So if you're super high up there and you're trying to get that number one spot, you definitely have to get yield a ton of more offensive wins versus the defensive losses there. So this is one of those things that I think a lot of people should take advantage of, and I don't think it's too hard to build, right? You said this is going to be one of the easier ones that people generally make?
Yeah, it's one of the more common ones, definitely. A cookie cutter team would be like Earth Harpy for your ATB boost, Air Samurai for your cleave, and maybe an Air Gen for your buffer. Air
Mm-hmm.
Gen has a speed buff, crit rate, crit damage buff,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe a Fire Nymph. That's what I use when I try to cleave team
Mm-hmm.
or bomb. I
Right.
use a Fire Nymph for the ATB boost and attack buff.
Yep. And so
It's
what?
pretty.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. That's all.
That's all. Okay. And so, what are some of the common or like recommended ones that you guys would say for cleave type of units that people can consider? Some of the better ones out there.
So this might surprise some people, but I still think Ice Knight is one of the better cleavers in the game. He has HP scaling, 1.5 multiplier, and his skill 2 can hit for some massive damage.
Mm-hmm.
Vulcan played around with it. The Air Harpy also nukes pretty well for a 2-star.
Yep.
But yeah, the thing about the Ice Knight is that it's slow. You don't necessarily want a slow cleaver.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting a little bit more into the intermediate difficulty, but if you have too slow a cleaver, you'll have someone cut in on your turns, so your ATB booster can't be too much faster.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Water Samurai, Air Samurai, Ice Knight, Air Harpy, all pretty good cleavers.
Gotcha. Okay, and so with regards to this cleaver, you said you were going to use an attack bar booster. One of the things that we weren't going to mention, but I think it's something that people should take advantage of. Like, you know, we understand certain attack bar boosters are going to provide the turn bar by 30, 35%, 40%, whatever the case would be. If you had to kind of give a just blanket statement to how much speed your units should yield so you don't get cut in between, what would you say? How would that go?
Whatever the ATB boost is, put a decimal point in front of the number and multiply it by your ATB booster speed, and that's the speed you need on your attacker so that you don't get cut.
Gotcha. So let's take an example of 150 speed on your attack bar booster. How much speed would you
So
need in the cleavers?
let's say you have 150 speed on your attack bar boost. You have a 30% boost, so you would take 150 times 0.3 minus the 150. So that would be 105 speed.
There it is. We got it done. I ain't gonna lie. I just wanted to do that just so I can hear you typing and get all mathematical on me real quick. Oh, it's all good. But no, it's real talk though. When we think about all the stuff that we can talk, you know, this topic of attack by boosting, there's so many times where you know, everything should be like perfect, and for whatever reason something happens, they cut in between and you're like, what's going on? And so it's down to the wire, making sure that you have enough speed so that you can sync up your units in line with that attack bar booster. Otherwise that match can be, you know, can make or break you. You can lose a lot of points and you can, you know, basically have to make up for it. So it definitely hurts if you don't get that W here. So outside of the cleave composition, which one do you think would be the next one to hit up as far as the difficulty? And
all right, so I think the next one to hit up is probably going to be enabling teams.
Oh yeah,
Cough cough, Fire Succubus.
Fire Succubus does not need a nerf. Shut up, Max. I don't want to hear it.
Oh man, just not HP scaling. But
Right.
yeah. So with an enabling team, you're gonna have a team that's focused primarily on enabling a single unit, like the Fire Succubus.
Mm-hmm.
So you might pair her with a Reviver, or like Childish's defense that bodied me. You might have an AOE taunt, an AOE mute,
Yeah.
and a strip, and then it's GG because there is nothing you can do.
Yeah.
So you gotta you can't just I see a lot of times when I go through arena and people have Fire Succubus, they just throw her in there and they're like, all right, go and win, go one shot somebody.
Yep.
And I mean, maybe she does, but if the rest of her team doesn't really do anything to keep her alive, she's gonna one shot one person. I kill her, and then I kill the rest of your team because you didn't do anything to keep her alive or stop me from killing your team.
Right. But she is one of those units that, due to her mechanic, her passive and whatnot, if you got the proper team set up, she can literally knock out people just over and over. And so you can go from regular 4v4 to 3v4, even 2v4 right from the get-go there. So it's...
Yep.
Yeah. So obviously the strength of focusing everything on one unit, if the unit is strong enough, is great. But what are some of the weaknesses that you find when you are creating your own enabling comps?
So yeah, like my defense right now is a mixture of enabling and control. Okay. And the weakness of it is that damage dealing unit is usually your single point failure. So if that damage dealing unit dies, mm-hmm. your defense is probably gonna lose. You can try to stall out. You can put in units like my Fire Angel Zealot tries to stall out for me if my Air Juggernaut dies, but it's gonna die eventually. It's just whether your staff can kill before it does.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And then let's hit up some of the options there for enablers. Obviously, the Fire Succubus is probably one of the better ones out there, if not the best one out there, when we talk about Nat3s. But you are one of the people that are super awesome about finding those like unique sleepers that people don't really know about, but they definitely need to hear about it. What are some of the ones out there?
So I personally use Air Juggernaut. I use him because if you're gonna use a damage dealer like that, you ideally would want one that has a bit of survival built into its kit. Mm-hmm. And so for the Air Juggernaut, you would think that it's just damage, but its ignore defense is actually a survival mechanic. Because of it, you can build him mostly survival stats and a little bit of attack with crit rate, crit damage, and he'll still do good damage. Some other examples would be Air Ninja. No built-in survivability, but very good at taking one unit out of the fight and then making it so the rest of their team can't do stuff. Fire Mauler has built-in survivability and has an ignore defense. Mm-hmm. He has a passive dodge, and then if he gets below, I think, 50% HP, he gets a divine shield every turn. So every turn, the first time you hit him, just does nothing. And one that people may or may not agree with is the Earth Unicorn.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bringing it out. Oh, here we go.
If you get enough HP, crit rate, and crit damage, it can one-shot a lot of things. It has a 50% HP added to its skill 3 and has some damage skill ups on it. So on a unit that has, I think, like 8k base HP, and if you hit somebody for 8k base HP and you get like 300% crit damage on it, it's not too many things that are going to live through that. And it's tanky. So,
and I think its third skill, it also has that stun mechanic too. So even if it doesn't know, it has a pretty good chance to stun you, right?
Yep. Really good chance. It's 45% chance per hit, and it hits 3 times.
3, yeah.
Pretty sure.
Yeah. It's pretty darn strong. So given the fact that we just set up the direct damage kind of units there, we got obviously the enabling aspect that we got to focus on as well. So what are some of your favorite enablers out there that you would recommend to the community to check out?
Like I said earlier, Fire Nymph is a really good one. She gives defense. If you come into a team where, they have a lot of AoE damage, just throw on your elemental defense advantage and live through that first turn. If you can't live through killing one unit, then you just do that. If you can just kill their entire team, you attack buff The water cap is really good. It has an ATB boost as well as elemental defense and offense advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Water Mauler, really good unit for it. He gives his entire team a 30% ATB boost every turn, as well as dodge. So the enemy team has a 50% chance to just do 0 damage whenever they hit anybody on your team. Water Minotaur, only 3-star with an AoE 2-turn taunt that is guaranteed, as well as HP scaling on it. I think I talked about him a bit in Vulcan's video.
Yep, you did. You did. I think the reason why you talked about it was because of my AD and you had to build it, right?
Yeah. That is exactly why. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can piece together an air giant.
Right. No, it was good. It was good. Yeah, so you got the Water Minotaur there. One of the things that I've seen you talk about, and even Vulcan talk about as well, is the Air Treant as well. He can get trying to throw it there.
Oh yeah, Air Treant is really good. He has the crit rate buff, attack buff, and Phoenix Soul buff. This run might be a rip.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be a rip. It's okay though. No one's watching.
Yeah.
It's just you and me.
Good. Okay.
But so the Air Treant, like you were saying, it's the enabling aspect. It's not just about setting up a unit to do max damage, but also providing some kind of sustainability or some kind of way of reviving it. So that Phoenix Soul is really the key concept there, outside of the buffs, of course, but Phoenix Soul to prevent your main unit from dying, right?
As well as a potential 2-turn AoE blind, confuse, or sleep. It's
pretty strong.
That is so strong.
It is.
Watching the enemy team just kill themselves. I've gotten confused by a tree and went through every one of my 4 turns and had my team hit my team.
Right.
And it's just infuriating.
Right. The confusing thing, the confusing mechanic is without a doubt one of my favorite elements of the game. I did want to take a step back though to the Water Mauler. I know this is something that honestly, this is for the guys that are watching on YouTube, for the ladies and gents that are watching on YouTube, excuse me. One of the things that first got me attracted to Max's channel was the talk about the Water Mauler, because I built it and I was like, man, I can't wait to put this on lifesteal. It's going to be amazing. And then you're like, nah, man, nah, we don't do no lifesteal around here. We got to, I was building it. I think I tried to build it lifesteal with critical damage and it was just not working, whatever. But the funny thing about the Water Mauler is that dodge mechanic that you were saying, 50% chance for them to basically miss you. And this, I think it's a little stronger than people put it out to be. 50% chance to miss. That's even, so if they have some kind of a CC attack, like Earth Necro that has 4 different types of debuffs, if you miss, it's like a glanced hit, right? You don't land anything, not even damage, but no harmful effects at all.
That is the only thing in the game that can stop someone from landing a purge.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So again, guys, do not deny the Water Mauler. That was actually one of the units that I used in Arena Defense for the first month and a half in the game, and it yielded me so many wins. I honestly don't know how I got so many wins, but that was one of the key things. That plus the Air Giant. Air Giant is pretty strong, but the Water Mauler actually gave a hard trouble with Max over there. He had to deal with that dodge mechanic, and it was pretty much a pain. One of the things that you haven't mentioned, which I feel like this one should be included in the enablers as well. What about the Fire Arcane Bird? That has attack buff or the attack bar manipulation, elemental advantage, and AoE poison. I mean,
oh yeah, he's definitely a very good enabler. He just kind of skipped. I didn't even think about it, but he's a unit I've been kind of holding in storage because working on too many other things. But amazing unit. He does a whole lot.
I think you were just trying to keep it to yourself, man. You didn't want to let the community know. I see what's going on, man. I see what's going on.
Yeah.
All right.
Gotta keep a little bit.
I keep a little bit. Let's see. Do you have any more out there? Or is that pretty much it, do you think?
I think that's pretty much it. Oh, Fire and Earth Holy Sis. Like I said, throw a Reviver in there. Either, especially with a Fire Succubus or a single target nuker, if you force somebody into a really tough decision. So they either have to bring an anti-revive, they have to kill your Reviver first turn, or they have to chance that your Succubus is going to run down their entire team, deleting people because they spent their first turn trying to kill your Reviver.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's an interesting mechanic of that. The Revivers on Arena Defense, the Water Holy Sisters on Arena Defense, They're just so annoying. The Angel Mystics that you find in the defense, anything that brings backup units, it just triggers me to no end. So, so we got the Cleave comp, we got the enabling comp. What would be the next one on your tier list there?
Next comp would be a control comp.
Okay.
So a control comp is a comp that is focused around dealing damage with debuffs or disrupting the enemy team to the point where you don't get to do anything, and not necessarily dealing direct damage themselves. So like some I've come across, it's just a Holy Sister, a Fire Druid, a Water Tree, and a Fire Tree maybe. And you're not, the thing about those is that you're not scared when you walk in because you're like, oh, you know, there's no damage. Like, they're not going to kill me. And then you realize that they're running, you know, like 120 speed, but their Water Tree has 35k HP and will smack you in the mouth and make you cry.
Right.
And also that they all have like 110 resist.
Ooh, good luck.
Ooh, 8 speed.
8 speed.
But yeah, it's a lot scarier than you might think.
Right.
And another one that's really terrifying on control teams are like Earth Necro and Earth Diva. Both of those are like the monsters of the control team world that you never want to see in a dark alley.
Yep, it's nasty. I mean, the Necro family in general is just pretty crazy as it is. But that Earth Necro,
Necro,
something else.
No, I would take dealing with any other Necro over Earth Necro. Like, it's just a monster.
See, I get excited about that because I got the Fire Succubus, but I'm still getting rickrolled by the people that are like, oh, I don't got no attack bar booster, but I also have 220 speed on my Earth Necro. Get wrecked, you know? So I'm like, oh man, that's rough here. That's rough. Let's see. So obviously we talked about a couple of the units already. What are some of the other ones? Maybe the non-nat fours. Some of the ones that maybe more people might be able to test out there that you would think would be good.
Yeah. So like for control teams, like Earth Tree, Air Tree, Water Tree, Water or Earth Felicore. So you have your Poison, Water Basilisk for freeze, Air Basilisk. Also, Air Basilisk could be a damage dealer for an enabling team. Forgot to mention him. A Fire Sorceress. You would think that Fire Sorceress sacrificing 40% of her HP on her skill 3 would be it is kind of a death sentence sometimes. And I'd love to have one to test it out, but a 2-turn mute is so powerful that it doesn't really matter. Because if you're muted, your entire team is muted for two turns. You can't really do anything, anyways. Like you can't do any damage to her if she's tanky.
Right. And I'll give a quick shout out to Shem Gamer, who's also a MMEG YouTuber. He makes a video series where he kind of showcases some underrated units out there, and he played around with it in the arena. The Fire Sorceress again, even though he sacrificed, same thing that you're talking about, he sacrificed a lot of health, but 2-turn mute, you lock him down, like it's GG if you got the right composition to go along with it.
I was just gonna say the strength is that if you don't build the strength is that you can steamroll some squishy teams, because a lot of time an attacker might have 4k attack but only like 7k HP and 500 defense. So if you actually get a turn to hit them back, then you probably win. And a control team will give you that. A problem you can run into is that you can be pretty easily countered if you get outsped and they have immunity. So control teams are very reliant on their debuffs. So if you can't land your debuffs, you're kind of in a rough patch. And I will never ever attack an AD where I see a Fire or Earth Goblin Shaman and a Necro or Earth Diva. I'm just like, nope. If I get outsped, that's GG.
Gotcha.
Like,
and let's see with regards to like the non-natural forces, what are maybe some of the common like control comps that you've seen that weren't like revolved around some of the big time nat fours there?
I saw a quad tree defense once and it destroyed me.
No kidding.
Oh my goodness. Fire tree, water tree, earth tree, air tree, and like fire and water tree are healing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you can't hit them. Like you can hit them, but you're getting poisoned the
Right.
entire time.
Right.
And then also the earth tree is stunning you, and I think sleeping you too. And then the air tree is buffing his team's attack, and they're
Right.
all beef balls that are hitting you for like
Yep.
4 or 5K each. And it's just, oh, it's a bad day.
Right. And again, depending on when you guys are watching this video, you might be watching it way down the road. But if you're watching this relatively soon, I mean, if you thought those were hard, they're about to get harder with this upcoming patch that we talked about here regarding the glyph changes and whatnot. So it's going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be pretty interesting. And then we got one more team to showcase. This is actually one that I feel like you got a couple of units that kind of fit the role in here, like your sustain / like kind of bruiser composition. Tell us a little bit about that.
All right. So as you said, the last one that people run is a sustain or a bruiser comp. And that's going to be a team of, moderately tanky units that have some sort of survivability or sustain built into their kit. And you run them and you build them so that they have high resist. They're tanky so that they live through the enemy team taking turn one. So, like, the key behind this team is that their units, like maybe the Tall Reds or the Juggernauts or the Masaru Monks, stuff like that, where you're slow. The unit has like 60 base speed, so you're going to be taking turn two, but you plan for that. And so you put like maybe immunity glyphs, and then you also have like 100 resist, and then you also have like 20k HP, 1k or 1.5k defense. So like the stat requirements are really high for teams like this. So I would say that this is probably one of the more difficult teams because you can't just outspeed and win. You have to really give some thought to what the enemy teams are likely going to bring and build synergy in your team to deal with that.
Right. Right. I think one of the cool things about it is since we're so focused on speed for so many other composition, now that I got a chance to use some of these non-speed, I mean, obviously you're going to look for speed subsets when you can get them, but I can take a look at some of these hexagon glyphs that may have like an absurd amount of substats that fit that unit perfectly, but don't have direct speed. Now I can really test the waters when it comes to effective HP and see how tanky I can get. I'm actually pretty excited to see what people play around with, and maybe once we're done with this run, we can showcase a couple of matches here and take a look at some of the teams here.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
Gotcha. And so while we're letting this one finish here, let's talk about maybe one of the fit me in on maybe one of the biggest common mistakes that you see people do on arena offense. What are some of the common mistakes that you've seen or you've talked about with people in the community?
Like on arena offense, like what do you mean?
So like when people are saying, "Hey Max, this is my team. I want to take this in arena offense. It's not working the way it's intended." Why is that the case? Like, what are people struggling with the most when they come to your channel?
I feel like when people are doing arena offense, what I hear them complain about more often than anything is that they took first turn and I lost. Like, so that's what made me think to like try to create this is like a bruiser team, and to build my team such that you don't need first turn,
right?
Because like I know I don't have very good luck when it comes to speed, so I haven't been able to get very many speed glyphs or speed substat glyphs thus far on on my speed glyphs or haste glyphs. So I've gotten meditation glyphs, endurance glyphs, defense glyphs, all that stuff with good speed on substats, but never on any of my Wrath Dungeon glyphs. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make what I got work.
Right.
And so what people tend to do is they go into arena and they're like, all right, well, speed wins, so I'm just gonna bank on speed. And if you bank on speed, that's good. But the problem is that if they outspeed you, you lose. And you have to understand that going into the fight. If you just build a team that is a speed comp, you can't expect to take second turn and win.
Right.
You can build a team where you want to take first turn, but if you don't, you have measures in place to deal with that.
Right.
So personally, I got an Earth Colossus, and that's what I use him for. He fits the role really well. I think you could do it with Air Crusader or Water Holy. Water Holy just might be a bit harder to do it with, but you could do it with like Air Masaru, Earth Colossus, like anything that has a cleanse or an ATB boost would work pretty well, preferably both. Okay. But you're just trying to get your team back out of their CC or whatever it is that the enemy team put on them that first turn and get them some turns.
Gotcha. And I think you make a valid point on not trying to be so dependent on these first turn things, even though it's super easy to do. If you have the glyphs and units to make it up, I mean, especially if you're not sitting there trying to rush hour. The recent change that last month when they incorporated the arena rewards and making sure you get those winning streaks so that you can get some free rewards, I think they're very, very important. And even I don't know about you, but I find myself often not super low on crystals, and I try to take my arena wings that I get from the guild quest just to kind of try to see if I can get 15, 20, 25 wins in a row, just so I can get a quick 100k because I'm that broke.
Yeah, but I definitely have done the same.